We would like to see most of the human race killed off because it is unworthy. It is unworthy of the gift of life.
I don't care what society thinks. They're nothing anyway. They're no better than me.
Until we hear the safe word, we will not stop.
Have you ever thought what it would be like to see a person's head amputated? Think of things so horrible that the human mind cannot imagine them. See all this and more when you see on stage, in person, that crazy mix-up.
I like being set apart from people. I like to be hated.
Safe Word with Jason Rouse.
And release. The release. That's a good cup of joe. Hey, this is Jason Rouse, and welcome to another episode of the Safe Word Podcast here from live from Austin, Texas on a Thursday. Are we in the evening or the afternoon?
Let's see. I would say 7 p.m. is going into the evening.
That would be evening. I think anything after 6:30 is whatever. I'm a DeVry graduate. Actually, I was asked to leave DeVry because they didn't have a class that offered clay ashtrays.
Clay ashtrays.
Clay ashtrays was my stripper name.
That's what it was, right?
I used to...
clay ashtrays, and you were full of butts.
I'd put the twister mat down.
Okay.
And then roll out with a hairdryer, cordless. It was ahead of my time.
Yeah.
And I'd make clay ashtrays.
Oh, that's great.
Danny Martinello
What's
here.
What's going on, man?
I wanted to say Edmonton.
I'm originally from Edmonton, correct.
Did you go to high school in Edmonton?
Yeah. I went to high school in Edmonton and then 2 years college in Toronto.
Was it a trade college?
No, I went to the comedy school, Humber.
What year were you there?
I was there 2009 and then graduated 2011.
I was in 2000.
9 years after me.
9 years after you, but you.
In 2000, I was in grade 4.
You moved to Toronto. You moved to Toronto 10 years ago?
About 2014 I went.
And what was it? You're sitting in Alberta.
Yeah.
Doing the same 3 cities.
Yeah.
And you've been doing comedy at this point for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And you see that Toronto not only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clubs.
Yeah.
And the farthest gig is, well, we could call it Halifax, but we'll call it Ottawa.
Why did I move to Toronto? I was going to go study at Groundlings in 2012.
Oh, were you going to be Will Ferrell?
Yeah. I was going to go there and be Fallon and stuff. No, I was going to go to Los Angeles
You
in
were
2004.
just like Boomer when he'd moved to Toronto in 99.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm going to be a comedic actor. And I said, you're going to be a fireman if you're lucky.
Yeah, no, I started comedy, like doing stand-up in 2009, and then I graduated from Humber, went back there, and then worked the road and like climbed up to the circuit in Edmonton, Alberta, started touring in Saskatchewan, and then all the Alberta like gigs and stuff like that, a little bit in BC. And then I was gonna go to Groundlings and study there, and then
Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles,
Yeah, right on Melrose there.
Yeah, so I flew in there, got the audition, landed the audition.
What year is this?
It was 2014.
Okay.
So May of 2015 is when I moved to Ontario.
Yeah.
So in 2014, I'm doing that, and I'm about to go down there in October, and then I get arrested at the Montana border, and then
For going to work illegally?
no, for possession of 0.14 grams of marijuana.
No.
Yeah, and a Cialis pill.
In between the seats?
To this day they didn't tell me where it was, but they ripped apart my car, and I was in holding for about 6 hours. Yeah, and then they
Did they show you? And what did it look like?
It was the size of probably your fingernail.
Fucking cunts.
Maybe a little specs, and yeah, so they didn't have enough to charge me federally, so they handed me over to the state of Montana, and then the state of Montana was like, okay, well, we're booking you for possession of a dangerous substance, and then they found the Cialis pill in one of my jacket pockets, and then they tested it.
What's Cialis for?
Boners. It's for your boner.
I understand, but you're telling me that you're in your 20s and you're using boner pills?
No, because there was an old-timer comedian in Edmonton.
Helping out a guy down on his luck?
Yeah, down on my luck. No, and I threw this going away after party and shit, and then... and he was there, we were all partying and stuff, and he was like, oh man, I got you a little something, and I was like, what is it? And he's like, oh, just take this before you bang your girl, and I was like, oh, fucking right, but then I got like...
But what about my guy?
What? Yeah.
What am I going to take when I bang that guy?
I stay hard for the guys. And then, so then I was like, okay, but then I never even used it. I just ended up like blacking out or whatever. And I didn't you know, and then I forgot it was in my jacket. And then, so it tested as like amphetamines and opioids. And then it came back as, was
it a truck stop dick pill or a proper pharmaceutical grade labeled?
It was proper pharmaceutical,
really?
Yeah, which was crazy. And then, so it was like they're the generic one. So it didn't have like the Cialis on it, but it was like the knockoff, like whatever the drug is. And then, so they ran 3-4 tests on it, came back individual tests inconclusive to whatever it was. So then that ended up thrown out because when I was in the like jumpsuit and stuff, because they put me to the border, Sweetgrass, Montana, handcuffed, everything, fingerprinted. Oh yeah, dude. And then I was on my way to county, and then one of these old timers was like, hey man, like you seem like a good kid, like what do they got you in for? And then I told him.
How many hours is this taken from you being identified?
Ooh, fuck, man. We got at the border at probably like 11. And
so you're with another person too who's waiting around for you.
Yeah, so then
to go to jail.
Well, yeah, but then because I was the driver, so they're like, "Are you the driver of the car?" I was like, "Yeah." So then they were like, "So is it fair to say whatever's in the car is of yours?" I said, "Yeah, unless it's like of his possession." And then they're like, "Okay, so then you take full responsibility of what's in the vehicle."
This is after?
No, this is like at the border, right? And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I guess, man. Like, what's going on here? Like, what do you mean? Like, you know, because I cleaned my car from top to bottom, shampooed it."
Do you think you got planted?
I think they, from what they like ripped apart and all that shit, man, like I think they literally like went through the carpets, they went through everything, they tried to accumulate as much as they could, and then it wasn't enough, so then they handed me to Montana, and then Montana was like booking me and shit, and then this guy was like, oh, well, what's this pill you have? I'm like, man, it's a boner pill. And then he's like, oh, okay, well, like let me go see it.
Let's run through the lab and see what we can dig up.
Yeah, and then he went and looked at it. He's like, oh yeah, I have those exactly in my night drawer, like I know what they are. And I'm like, so then can they go? He goes, well, let's just say sometimes evidence goes missing. And then I'm like, oh, what do you mean? He goes, why? I'm just saying sometimes we go to the locker and it's not there no more, or it loses its way to the court.
David Cockerfield working the border.
Exactly, man. And then so I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, do you want to post bail? And I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like nobody even told me about anything. I'm like, what's going on here, right? And then so I posted bail, and then got a lawyer and all that, and I couldn't go to the States for like a year and a half, and then so I was back in Edmonton being...
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I had a deferred prosecution deal. So what it was if I got in trouble in Canada, because I was a good kid, they looked through my police records.
How many years were you under probation?
I was under probation for 6 months, but then it took another additional like 8 months for it to all go through the court, all go through the border and everything like that.
How much did it cost?
It only cost me like $2,000. And it cost me less to fucking get my case thrown out than to get my actual visa.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I moved back. So then I was back in Edmonton. I was like, well, fuck, man. Like, you know, I had all this purpose to go and all this stuff. And then I was just getting like loaded with my brother one night and like shit faced. He didn't like his job, and I obviously didn't like the position that I was in with not being able to go to Los Angeles. And then he's like, man, you got to get out of Edmonton. He's like, you're gonna leave, you know, so just leave. I'm like, well, where should I go? He's like, fuck it, man, go back to Toronto, you know, some boys out there from like college and shit. He's like, just get out of Edmonton.
Did you know, you must have made some friends along the way doing comedy in Alberta from guys from Ontario that probably saw you and said you should move to Toronto at some point, or? Well,
I was always kind of like I was making money, you know.
I know. I've talked to you, especially over COVID. I'm like, get out.
Yeah.
I'm like welding horseshoes or some shit. I'm like, run.
No, I was working in a movie set, like in production with the metal fabricators and stuff, like welding and doing all this other shit, like when the pandemic happened, but. Yeah, so then I moved to Toronto. I've just booked a one-way ticket 2 weeks from the date of me and my brother, like, just drinking, figuring life out. And then I packed all my bags up and just went to my buddy's couch and then lived at his place on his couch for a month until I got sorted out and shit. And then me and Drew moved in together, and then I was there. And then after, I don't know, 8 years, and on the pandemic and all that shit, I was like, fuck it, man, I'm just gonna go to the States.
Canada's, the ground's too shaky.
Yeah, well, there's, you know, if you've been doing comedy there for 10 years, you've pretty much done it all, right? Besides if you're just waiting
5
years. If you're waiting in line for all the festival people to be picked, but now it's like,
if you've been to Halifax more than 3 times, you've been there in Canada too long.
like, the only thing I can do in Canada right now is a Halifax Comedy Festival and the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. There's no JFL.
But those aren't even festivals, let's be honest. Those are auditions for commercial advertising.
That, and like to get yourself into a writer's room for this hour or some other writer's room for something.
Who would want to be in a Canadian writer's room? Can you imagine?
People that want to live in Canada and still to say they're successful. And
like, I know you're very patriotic. Not only to the country, but to the West Coast.
Right? It's a job for some people.
Yeah, I know, but fuck that job. It's not a real job.
Yeah, I've never wanted to be in a writer's room for this hour's 22 minutes or this writer's room for a CBC Gem show or
None of
something
it.
like that. Yeah.
None of it. What, do you want to be a game show host for people who know how to make maple syrup?
Yeah. Now I want to go around all of Canada and explain the ins and outs of the beautiful cities that are there, and then
what are you, Ron James?
Yeah, exactly, and then do a little tour on it.
James Mullinger?
Yeah. Mullinger's a good guy.
Mullinger's my son.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about me and that Brit?
What? What was that? Were you trying to say something?
I've known James Mullinger for no reason. No.
Yeah.
I've known him for, 20 years.
Okay. I worked with him once when he first came to Canada, like when he was moving, and then
he was a journalist. He wasn't even a comic.
Yeah.
He was. He got a gig at doing articles on very prominent Canadian comedians for
GQ magazine, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I remember there's a story I can't really talk about on mic, but I'll tell you later.
Okay.
And
those are usually the best stories, anyways, unless you can't speak into a microphone for
He's got a family now and everything. I can't be blowing up his spot.
No.
But he does that on his own. That guy can drink.
Oh, yeah. Mullinger's
he's good.
rager.
Yeah, he's good. He
does have a great time.
You still drink?
Not really as much anymore. I went 2.5 years sober, and then when the Oilers started playing in the playoffs, I had a couple drinking nights for the finals, and then now I'm like, I'll drink maybe
6 times a year.
Yeah, if that, maybe couple times a year, maybe something like that. But I don't get like drunk like I used to. Like I know, okay, there's the limit.
You were a bed pisser, if I remember.
I didn't really piss the bed while I was sleeping. I mostly walked into the room and started pissing on beds. No, I was just I would just be a loose cannon, man. Like if a fight wanted to pop off, I'd be okay with it like that. And
why do you think Boomer can't go out?
Well, yeah. Me and Boomer talked extensively about it, and it's like alcohol for both of us is like terrible. Okay, maybe once or twice a year, kind of, and then we have our certain parameters that we can have it within. Like I know now I won't really go into shots. I'll have light beers and and then I'll have like a couple mixed drinks, but I know where I'm like starting to feel like, oh no, the fuck it man's coming, and then I shut it down. Yeah. At least for these last couple times that I've been drinking, but I've learned coming back to alcohol that I don't specifically even like the taste of it. Yeah. Like from being off of it for so long and having like
it's like the perfume of an ex-girlfriend who sucked off all your friends.
Yeah, it's nice to walk by, you smell it, and then you realize like she's fucked everybody. Yeah. That's kind of what I looked at it too, in a sense, where like I had this romantic fantasization about alcohol, right? Where I was like, oh, I miss it so much. It was so fun. It was so beautiful. I had so many good memories. But then I realized that like, okay, no, but also you had so many shit times and all that stuff. But then I was like, well, I don't know. I miss it so much. And then the first time I came back to it, I was like, oh, no, I don't even like it anymore. No. Yeah.
That first hangover after being sober for so long,
brutal, dude.
And it doesn't even have to be a bad one.
No,
you just like,
yeah. Like when I came back, I had like maybe 6-7 drinks. Because I was like, okay, well, if I'm breaking this sobriety, then I want to have the things that I want to have that I've been missing, right? So I had my Ryan Gingers, didn't like it. I had my Caesars, I didn't like it. I had my beers, the things, but then I realized like I still love the taste of wine. That's it too.
I know,
right?
I love a good red wine. That's one thing I do miss is a glass of wine.
Yeah, so it's like but it didn't come to the point where I'm like, oh, let's smash the bottle. It was more like, oh, this tastes great. But then I'm also like, no, but if you have that full bottle, and then you're gonna want to have more, and then when you wake up tomorrow, your whole day is gonna be shit. So then when I woke up from that next day, I was sluggish. I was so hot. It was uncomfortable. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, anybody who's ever had any fitness or health or training or exercise, you know how depreciating a hangover can really fuck up your regiment.
Well, and then too, you're also like drunk that night of, and you're like, oh, let's get some drunk McDonald's, let's get some drunk pizza, and you're eating everything. You don't give like shit what's going on.
Chicken fingers all over you.
Well, that's the thing, man. When I was in Calgary hosting the Laugh Shop, and then the Oilers had that crazy Game 6 to bring it to Game 7, and they stomped the shit out of Florida. And I'm like, I'm having some drinks, and then later on, I'm like, I want some McDonald's, and then I order McDonald's, and I'm laying in my bed, like I'm pretty drunk for I guess my state, right? If only I didn't have too much, but it doesn't take too much liquor to get me drunk anymore. I'm like in my bed, 40 nuggets, dude, just fisting them into eating every nugget like an otter would, just laying on my back, just eating it, dipping it. I wake up in the morning and I just see honey mustard stains everywhere. There's wrappers, there's ketchup from burger drips.
One sip out of the Stanley Cup of beer would have been sufficient.
I mean, if I had the ability to like be partying with the Oilers if they won, buddy, I wouldn't be taking one sip.
What if one of the players exposed himself to you in the hallway? In the hallway? Yeah. Like, check it out.
I'd be like, fuck, man. Like, which player is it? If like Draisaitl shows me his dick, if Skinner shows me his foreskin,
is he European?
No, man, he's from Alberta, bro.
But they all got foreskins in Alberta.
Well, I mean, depends on who you are, right?
Rural
Alberta, yeah, they got it.
They've all got anteaters.
Yeah. So I got an anteater.
Would you prefer a hockey player if he exposed himself to you? Would you prefer cut or uncut?
I would prefer just a nice looking penis if it was whatever. Cut, uncut, it doesn't matter.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Clip that.
You set me up for it.
Yeah,
clip that. I don't know, dude.
I think it matter as long as it's good looking.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It'd be like whatever, right? Like if you're at a party and he did, it'd be pretty weird. My dad got exposed by the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies.
Your dad did?
Yeah, man.
For what? Your dad exposed himself to a bare naked lady?
No, who's the lead singer of Bare Naked Ladies?
Gordon Lightfoot.
No. That's Bare Naked Land. I can't remember.
You're asking me. You know who you're talking to. Who the singer of the Bare Naked Ladies
I'll look it up right now. But anyways, the singer, every year Edmonton has the folk festival, right? And it's a pretty major festival for folk fest, Psychos Y. But
who are the headliners at the folk? Loverboy?
No, at the folk fest it would be like they had like Tash Sultana one day.
Tash Sultana?
Yeah, they had
no idea.
They're like I think indie bands, right? Yeah. And then like they had Bare Naked Ladies playing there one year, and then they had like Michael Franti and Spearhead. They had like these bands or whatever.
All Canadian?
No, that's worldwide.
Oh, okay.
So Edmonton has like a pretty prestigious folk festival music.
Yeah.
So it's like it's pretty world renowned in the folk fest kind of things. But my dad's a volunteer, right? So every year you would put in a certain amount of hours. You get to see the festival for free. You get all the access backstage, all that kind of stuff.
A chance to expose himself.
A chance to be exposed, yeah. And then at the end of the festival, the last night, they bring out all the volunteers that hit the certain mark. And then they, say what up.
Thank you.
And then my dad's on stage or whatever, and then he feels some kind of weird shit going on behind him, like touching his leg and all this stuff, and like
footsies,
yeah, like some kind of thing. And then so my dad he said he turned around, he saw it, and then there's the lead singer, something Page,
Jimmy Page,
no, Stephen Page. Let me fucking.
Of what band?
The Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh yeah. You got Page right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's not Harlan Williams' cousin is also in the Bare Naked Ladies.
Is it?
Yeah, they have a side project called Rusty Buckle or something like that.
Who's the rock band? Fucking
Stephen Page.
Yeah, Stephen Page. And
Page.
it was at a time where he had a huge cocaine problem and alcohol problem.
And he wrote that children's book, and then got his girlfriend caused a scene, and the cops came to break up the domestic, and they're like, "You guys ripping rails in there?"
Yeah, but he was going through a crazy phase.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and so he was like really blown out all the time. It
Yeah.
was like a huge problem, and he had to go like rehab and stuff. But then my dad's feeling this thing, and then he turns around, and there's Stephen Page just staring at him, wiggling his dick in the fucking back. Yeah, and my dad's like, I didn't know what to do, if I should fucking punch him or what. But at the same time, now I'm looking at Stephen Page's dick, and then he just turned back around, and then like the staff kind of saw it, and then they had to fucking like usher him off and all that shit. And he was supposed to play at the volunteer appreciation party, and he didn't play.
No way.
Yeah, they were like,
well, look at what's his name? Fucking the Strangler.
Chris Benoit. the Strangler. What do you mean? Homer Simpson or
the
what?
Canadian guy, singer for Moxie Frugvis. And then he got that show, and he had that famous
Avenue or Q or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jumanji.
Yeah, Stephen Jumanji, or not Stephen Jumanji. Fucking
Jumanji.
Yeah. And then he had the little teddy bear, right? And then he make the girls watch. And then he
Yes.
choked out Lucy.
Yes,
from Trailer Park
Boys.
Yeah.
Yes,
Punched her a couple times, and then it was a fucking what's his name? Yeah, and he had Q.
Jumanji.
Gomeshi.
Gomeshi. Yeah, Gomeshi.
Yeah.
Crazy. I hated that band, Moxie Frugus.
I didn't even know they existed until you...
Dude, just some dirtbags on Queen Street. I got a flute and I'm an idiot.
No, man. The only
Think of the Spin Doctors with no flavor.
I don't even know the Spin Doctors.
Well, my age, were you around when they put out Big Shiny Tunes 1?
Yeah, I know Big Shiny Tunes and much video dances.
It was
and stuff
probably
like that.
1 or 2.
Okay.
At least those bands.
Yeah, Big Shiny Tunes 4. I remember. I always play that.
Great. As far as compilation albums, because you got American hits, and then I Mother Earth.
Yeah. Well, the thing that actually made me want to crave a beer and just say fuck it was at game 3, but it was the home opener for the Oilers, so the first home game, and then they had fucking Bare Naked Ladies.
If I had $1 million,
Or not Bare Naked Ladies, they had
Bare Naked Ladies.
Oh, who's the with an out chair? You get out there, na, 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 a Canadian band.
Billy Talent?
No, not Savage Garden. Fucking. I wish you more out there. No, that's Blink-182. The
Canadian or American?
It's a Canadian band. They were huge, 5-time Juno nomination, and
Our Lady Peace.
Our Lady Peace. That's it. So they had Our Lady Peace. Yeah, they had Our Lady Peace playing. Yeah.
Rain. He changed his name to Rain Mater.
Yeah, so then they had Our Lady Peace playing. And they're like just jamming, the vibe's crazy, and then they had the snowbirds fly overhead, and then I was just like, fuck it, man, I'm crushing a Molson right now.
Yeah.
Dude. So it was like just one of those moments where I'm like, I got a shotgun a beer to Our Lady Peace while jets are flying over, home opener of Stanley Cup Finals.
10 years younger for about 4 seconds in your head.
Yeah.
Our Lady Peace, and the beer touches your lips, and then
the jet. Oh yeah, man.
You go back there, and then you go, you can't stay here, it's over.
Yeah.
Back up to the front.
Yeah, and I'm actually just trashed.
Yeah.
Everybody's cleared out. They're cleaning their rink, and they're like, it's time to go, buddy. It's time to go.
You're being pushed around in a Zamboni.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, just one more gun, one more game. Come on, man.
Did you have aspirations to be a hockey player? Like
no,
most
I never
Canadians?
even really played hockey growing up. I grew up in an Italian household, so I played soccer.
Stugats.
Yeah, and then when I asked my dad, I was like, man, but then the thing is, growing up too, I didn't like all the kids that were playing hockey because
same.
They were pieces of shit, and then I'd always end up fighting them,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, well, I don't want to be around all these guys anyways, and then
now you hang out with Boomer, who's probably the worst case scenario of a disgruntled ex-hockey player.
Yeah, the only thing he needed to do is join the police force, but he joined the fire force.
I've got to GoFundMe together $5,000 American for him to fight 4 dogs in a park.
I would love to see that.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I said, listen, there's negotiation
But does
here.
he gets to wear like a little bit of arm protection?
No, blindfolded, naked, full
Blindfolded
nude,
naked.
blindfolded.
Yeah.
$5,000,
With,
American.
with his dick tucked like apocalypto kind of.
I'm not gonna look at it, but if he needs a tuck,
You
he's
gotta
gonna
give
fight
him. You
those
gotta give him
dogs.
at least a nice little like cup.
Gore Park, no, Liberty Village.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to either be in Liberty Village or the one on Adelaide and Portland. That one dog park right there.
We get Dan Dunn to referee it. Mm-hmm. We give Dan a BB gun and an axe handle.
Yeah.
And Boomer comes out full nude. You know he's gonna be hard just to show off.
Yeah.
As it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And then we go, okay, we're going to let the dogs off the leash. And then he starts just throwing haymakers, and pit bulls are flying over fences.
Yeah.
And then one grabs a hold of his leg and his neck and roll him out onto the ground. And then the laugh track plays over it as we fade to black.
Yeah, or Benny Hills.
Now, he would be a great dog fighter.
Yeah. I don't think he would have it in him. He would just, every time he'd see a dog, he'd see Arnie, and then he would just
Yeah, I know.
pull the punch.
I told him I'd throw a house cat in there. He can break that and then move on to the dogs. Mm-hmm. Muddy's, I'll just keep raising it until he can't turn it down.
Yeah, the GoFundMe's
Yeah.
$200,000 American. His property tax becomes $100,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day.
One day, I think we can make it happen.
I'm gonna get this guy to leave his secure job as a firefighter. You know how many times?
But then you tell him, and because this is the thing about Boomer, his whole thing was we figured it out was he'd be like, I got to see if I'm working overtime. I don't know if I'm got the overtime, but then it would never be overtime. We're like, Boomer, what are you talking about, bro? You already hit 9 weeks or 9 days this month. Like there is no overtime for you.
Yeah.
And then he would just be in bed by like 6.
Oh yeah, he hides from us.
Yeah, he does.
He hides from us. I know he throws his phone under the couch when I call.
Majority of the time, the only time like Boomer would really like we'd all be it's because we'd go on those fucking 100K bike rides.
Yeah.
With, like those we're working out for like 3 hours a day every time.
Yeah.
That was the only time you can really lock down Boomer.
Oh yeah, same with that whole. The only way, see, he's a galoot,
Yeah.
right? A big galoot.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, let's walk from Hamilton to Toronto. He's like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. And I go, just think though, when we get there, you can get one of those steaks you like at the Cake.
Yeah.
And then I waterboarded him for about 3 months, and then he started thinking about that off the menu
Oh yeah.
prime rib that he loves.
That he loves so
And
much.
he goes, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that's where I was like, Boomer, we should go on like a massive like walk around here. And
Food.
Then, yeah, and he's like, yeah, but we have to hit pizza places every stop. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, we will. We'll do a full Manhattan pizza tour.
He's always fear that he's going to run out of food to eat.
Yeah.
It's his biggest fear.
Yeah.
I remember he'd start doing stand-up.
But then he also has a picture of his fat self, and then he goes, I can never, like, there's always, like, he wants to eat as much, and then he just punishes himself in the gym so he never becomes Fat Boomer again.
And you know what? Most of it's based on his head. His body gets thicker, but his head balloons up. He has like a 36 head.
Yeah. Every
42.
snapback I've seen has been connected with a bobby pin. Yeah.
They're like paternity pants.
Yeah, man.
With the elastic in the back because
Yeah.
his noggin is huge. And
Yeah.
I know when he's been into the donuts.
Yeah,
you know
you-
what I caught him doing?
What? What you guys are doing?
I caught him doing something unpleasant. I don't know what this is, and I don't know what kind of group you need to be a part of, but I went to Granddad's Donuts in Hamilton and got a dozen donuts, and he was on his diet.
Yeah.
So he couldn't eat them, and I'm eating. He goes, eat another one. And I'm like, halfway through the third donut, delicious. I'm like totally over it. My stomach is just going, why?
Yeah.
Why? I look over at him. He's touching his cock through a hole in his pants, looking at me eating donuts.
Oh, he loves it.
What is that?
He loves just the that's his grossness is because he knows he's gonna have a rock bottom.
Yeah,
We always send each other pictures of like what kind of food we have, and he goes, "Eat it all, rock bottom, restart tomorrow. Tell me how it feels." And we're just like, okay, but he'll like show us a picture of a deep dish, like large deep dish pizza from Domino's, and then he gets a full pecan pie, a whole tub of
he
ice
takes
cream,
a picture of it like he won a prize.
yeah, and then he
It's like
sits it down
today,
in one sitting. Just a whole bag of almonds or chocolate covered almonds, whipped cream, and then he makes this huge like
Sunday or
17,000 calorie meal. Eats it all, and then he just goes and punishes himself for 14 days straight. No sweets, no treats, no nothing. And then he resets it ever again.
Yeah, shuts himself off from the world until he's done shitting out that septic tank.
It's like, you know how some people will be like, oh yeah, once a year or whatever, I rent out a hotel room and then I bring about 13 escorts in and they have like a crazy like bender banging hookers and doing all that stuff in a fancy hotel room. That's what Boomer would do, but it would just be filled with like pizza treats and like
he'd have a guy, a Domino's pizza delivery guy, tied to a chair, eating, jacking off in front of him, going, you brought this to me. This is why you suffer.
Yeah, like
hey,
it's
do
like,
something.
Like a Saw type situation.
7.
Yeah, but then everything is like not gored and killed. It's just you're like eating it all. Oh, the glutton from 7.
Yeah. Think of that, but different food. So Chinese food guy.
Yeah.
And Boomer just jacks off and eats in front of these guys, but opens their eyes up and makes them watch.
Clockwork Orange style.
He's breathing in. Oh, I'm coming. Widen your knees. I'm
Tell
gonna
me
blow.
to stop.
Yeah.
Tell me to stop. He goes, fucking stop, man. It will never stop.
He is disgusting that way. Old Barnacle Bill.
God bless him, though. I love a Boomer.
No, he's good people. I wish he'd get fired from his job and join my gang of nowhere.
Yeah. He's sitting pretty over there.
What? Well, okay. We brought it up to Toronto.
Yeah.
You're at the border.
Yeah.
You have a mishap.
Yeah.
You reset. You regroup. You end back up in
I go back to Toronto.
And then, because I remember I'd come back from England.
Yeah.
And I'd run into you like every other year.
Yeah.
Mostly on the streets.
Yeah. It's either the streets of Los Angeles or the streets of wherever.
Did I run into you in LA?
Yeah, because I would come out a couple times to trip or whatever, and then I'd always hit you up, and you were like the only Canadian that would get back to me and stuff. Unless Tolive would a couple times, and then she kind of like blew up or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I stopped coming to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was either you and Tolive were the ones that came back, but then you were the one that showed me like the most hospitality and kind of brought me around to the places, introduced me to the people, told me the ins and outs of it, showed me kind of like basically the underground of
I was in it.
Comedy.
It was wild.
Yeah. And then, so I went to Toronto, all that, and then I lived there till 2000, till when the pandemic happened, and then all shit shut down, and I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and then basically my life got pressured into a point of like buying a wedding ring and almost getting married. And
what year was that?
Because
I remember, I'm
2021.
like, yeah, and you're like, girlfriend, I'm like, get rid of her.
Yeah,
and you're like, I love her, I'm gonna marry her. I'm like,
yeah, no, so I had that, but then I was also like living, secret life of just being like not happy and getting drunk, and then also, fucking basically, I don't know, just cheating on her and stuff like that, and then but also, not living to my true self, and then thinking that, okay, well, pandemic happened, comedy could be, easily removed and shit. Well, then what else is there besides the personal life, right? Like, so I tried to make a life or a living in my personal life, and then went to fucking didn't want to get like the.
Did the relationship explode over COVID?
It kind of did, because I started going on tour, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I had the fake pass, and then she got kind of a little bonkers about like
holes.
Not having a fake pass or getting vaccinated and all that shit. And I was like,
I thought you meant you had a pass in your relationship to blow in other strangers.
No, that was off book. No. So then I was like, all right, well, I got to go on tour. I'm going to use this fake pass and all this shit. And then I entered Seattle, the competition, and then I got
second gig I ever did
was Seattle Comedy Competition.
Third time I've ever been on stage was at the Seattle Comedy Competition.
So then how'd you like it?
Well, again, it was my third time, and when I was living in Vancouver, a friend of mine says, I'm going to go to this comedy competition, and I'm like, okay, I'll go too.
Yeah.
Put my name in, I got pulled, I did the 3 jokes I had, I ran out of material in the 5-minute set, and went back to Vancouver and realized that any opportunities that we're going to have, we're going to start out of Toronto, leading to the outside countries. But sorry, go ahead.
So then I go into Seattle, and then I'm like, well, fuck, because I was always at this point where I'm like, I'm not gonna get vaccinated until I get whatever fucking I need to, right? So I could have done it on a lie, but then she got all kind of like, oh, this fucking life's over, blah blah blah, and all this shit. And then I'm doing a show out in Calgary, and I'm talking to like this
Loser
of a
American or Canadian
of a
plenty
lady
to pick from.
Yeah, but of a lady, and then she's like from Provost and like Provost.
What's Provost?
Provost, Alberta. It's like it's super small town, and it's most known for having like the longest lasting chapter of the Ku Klux Klan in Alberta. And like,
do they book that gig still?
But it's brutal. No, so I'm in Calgary, and she comes out to a Danger Cats show and all this, and I'm talking to her, and then she's like, I don't really give a fuck. I got vaccinated, all this shit, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, if this girl does it, what the fuck, all this? I'm like, well, and then I just was like, you know what, fuck it. And so I ended up
Clarity, it's called.
Yeah, so I ended up hooking up with her, but then it's like
So you fucked her?
Yeah, dude. So this is what happens.
I'm gonna be sick.
Yeah, no.
You fucked the vaccinated girl
from Provost, but this is the funny part.
380.
Right, so we're like in the condo or whatever and all this. She's trying to stay and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to bed. Like,
how fat?
It's whatever. No, she was like skinny. Like she was decent, but she was just brutal. And then
decent, brutal.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, oh, I don't really care, right? And then so I'm like, I'm hooking. Like,
are you drunk?
Yeah, oh yeah, man. I'm like loaded at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go. Like they were all like this. It was like this weird like connection, like where like you're like, okay, well, like this is the next step. Are we gonna do it? If not, then okay, well, then enjoy yourself. You know, like, you gotta go. But if you're not gonna go because you're whatever your thing, here's some
pick
pillows.
Up your crutches and get lost.
Or like here's fucking a pillow, sleep on the couch, like it's whatever, right?
A gentleman's offer.
Yeah, it's like okay.
And did she take the piss and overstep?
Well, no. So then I go to the bathroom, and then she comes in, and then I'm like, oh, what's going on? I thought you were gonna leave. She goes, yeah, but I just want to like, you know, kind of like I want to hook up. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it, whatever, right? So then I go and do it, and then I put.
I smell it.
Oh,
now.
Dude, it stunk so bad. I go 4 pumps in, bro, and then it just reeks. And then her sister starts kicking in the door and all this shit. Yeah.
And you're fucking the garbage can.
And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, this is fucked up, right? And then she's like, okay, yeah, sorry, we're gonna leave. And then so she goes to leave, and I'm laying in bed, and then I come back, and then she comes back in and slides into bed. I'm like, oh, I thought you were gonna leave. She goes, yeah, well, I'm just gonna crash with you. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I'm like super drunk, and she smells like cigarettes, like heavy, gross cigarettes,
and
stale perfume, like nastiness. And I'm
a bingo hall.
Yeah, and I'm spinning in the room, right? Where I'm like, oh no, I'm feeling like I'm gonna vomit, right? So I told her, I'm like, hey, listen, like if you're gonna stay the night, do you mind like freshening up and like getting outside of your outside clothes, or like you can have a shower and shit? And then she's like, excuse me? And then I'm like,
no.
I'm like, do you want to like freshen up? You got a toothbrush or whatever? I got an extra one. She's like, what? Why? And I'm like,
she does this every weekend.
And I go, I don't know. I'm pretty drunk, and like you smell like cigarettes, and it's kind of making me sick. And then she's like, oh, what? You think I smell like cigarettes?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
You should smell my cunt.
Yeah. And then so she gets all angry and stuff, but then she still lays in bed, and then she's not like leaving. So I'm sitting there like, what the fuck? And then she's like, I'll just leave. But she lays in bed, and I'm looking at the clock, and 15 minutes goes by, dude. And I'm staring.
Was she high on cocaine?
I don't know what she was. She was very.
Was she jittery?
No, she was just fucked up too, right? Like just in the head or whatever.
What's her name?
Buddy, I don't even know. I had to like, I blocked everything to do damage control, but then it didn't even really matter. But
I can smell it.
Yeah, and then so it's like she's laying there, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm like 15 minutes, and then I go by like this, and I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to like call you a cab? That's what I said after 15 minutes. And she goes, you're gonna call me a cab? You're gonna fuck me and then huck me and then call me a cab?
Well, you said it.
No, and I was like, no, you were gonna leave. Like, what do you mean? And then, but you weren't leaving, so I'm like just doing a nice thing to call you a cab. She goes, oh, what? You're gonna call you a cab? I'm like, well, I don't know. Like that's it. I thought I was being a gentleman to like, you know, obviously I don't know your situation or whatever, but you say you're gonna leave, and then you're just laying there. I'm like, I'm not dating you. And then she's like, you're a piece of shit. I know you have a girlfriend. You're a piece of shit. You did this when you know I had a girlfriend. I go, oh, well, if you knew I had a girlfriend, I guess I'm not the only piece of shit in the room. And then she like snaps, goes crazy ballistic. Her sister comes in and starts yelling at me and all this shit too. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on, bro? Like, I'm like, this is madness. But at this point, I'm like, you know what? I don't even give a fuck, because I was like, I don't like this girl. I don't like the girl I'm with. I don't like anything. I'm like, at this point, I felt like the only thing was I was like a
suicide,
like a coyote or some shit, and I got to bite my arm off to get out of the trap. So I'm like, whatever, fuck it, scorcher. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I didn't do the necessary work to like cover it or whatever. So when she leaves, she's like, oh, I know he's got a girlfriend. Let's call her girlfriend. And all this shit. And I hear them when they're talking about it in the elevator.
I think I remember a buzz about this amongst the comics that some whore on the road ratted. She did call her.
She called my girl, yeah, a friend at the time. So then I'm laying there, and I looked at the opener that I'm with, and I'm like, and I go, bro, my life is. I'm like, my girlfriend's gonna find out, and he goes, no, she's not. No, she's not. And then so I'm like, no, she's gonna know.
Where were you?
I was in Calgary at the Laugh Shop. I mean, yeah.
And she's in Toronto. Getting a phone call from some
stranger, right?
Yeah.
So then the next day, she doesn't say anything to me. And then I'm about to go on a hike with Chris LaBelle and a bunch of people, like to go eat mushrooms and go on a hike in Kananaskis. And then so I'm like, oh, fuck. And I message my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, I'm about to go on a hike here. Hope you're having a good day. And then she immediately, boom, calls me back, and I'm in the car with these dudes, right?
Oh,
and
no.
And then I'm like,
and
oh,
LaBelle's a terrible wingman.
No, LaBelle's the best guy. I have a very sweet spot in my heart for LaBelle, and I think he's an awesome human being, and I love this guy to death, dude, right? So then Chris, when the phone's ringing, I go, oh, fuck, it's my girlfriend. And then Chris is...
No, yeah, he's sympathetic.
Chris turns around in the car, he goes, Bello, you gotta answer it. This is the call you've been waiting for. And I'm like, and then I answer it. She goes, oh, yeah. You're gonna go hiking? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, yeah. You're gonna have a good time on your hike? And then I'm like, yeah. She goes, yeah. Is it gonna be as good a time as when you fucked that girl in the bathroom last night and all this? And I'm like, oh no. And then immediately all 3 doors open, front seat, driver's seat, passenger seat. Everybody gets out of the car, closes it, and I'm in there just
moment of silence.
Oh yeah, just taking it and whatever. And then I hang up. They're all outside. They see me hang up.
And of course you were living with this woman.
I was living with this woman, yeah.
And this is when it was scheduled for an engagement?
Yeah, but the whole thing too was she was supposed to come out here, right? And then I had this whole plan set up for this.
Here where?
Out in Alberta. So I had this whole proposal plan. I had this whole fucking thing. But then she was like, I'm not doing all this stuff. I'm not using the papers. I'm not doing it. Like, she went DEFCON like crazy. Like, you know, all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And then so I did that. But then...
Did she toss you out when you got back?
Well, no, this is the thing. She because I was on tour with her, and then I was on tour, and then she's like, you got a week to come back and pick up your shit, right? And
were you on the lease?
No, I wasn't. And I'm like, okay, I think it just changes every time this changes. That picture goes, but. So then she goes, okay, you got a week to pick up your stuff and everything. And then I'm like, okay, cool. But then Chris is like, we're still going on this hike, right? And then he gives me 2 grams of mushrooms. And then we end up going on this hike, man. And the whole time I'm on the hike, I'm like tripping out, figuring out what's going to go on and how everything's going to, like, how my life's going to play out and all this shit. And the whole time I'm high on these mushrooms. It's a shitty trail, too. It's like a garbage trail, muddy, full of snow and all this time. And every time I'm going through it, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just get to the top of the mountain. The mountain will be clear. Using this as a metaphor to my life. Right now, I'm climbing through the shit hills and all this stuff. But then, so then I get to the top and I'm like, find this peace and this serenity, like this cleanse, bro, of like, of going through. Is everything good with that or what?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then, so I'm like, come back, and then I had still on the tour. So I'm like, okay, fuck, I gotta, finish this tour before I go to Seattle, all this stuff. And then she calls like 2 days later, 3 days later, when I'm like at my parents' place and laying down. I had to tell my mom and all.
Was there any communication during this time from the phone call to you getting back?
No, it was like kind of radio silence or whatever, and then I'm sleeping at my parents' place, and I hear my mom, like, I wake up, but I look at my phone because my phone goes off a little bit, like early in the morning. It says, "Oh, someone just tried to log in your accounts here, or whatever," and then I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I just like closed it, and then I'm like, oh fuck, and then I hear about like 10 minutes later, my mom go to the phone, picks up the phone. What do you mean? It's not his first time he's done this? What the fuck? And then I'm like, oh no. I put it all together. I'm like, this girl went through all my socials. And then she went through...
Your ex went through all your socials?
Yeah. So she went through all my socials. She found a couple more paper trails from like early dates.
Yeah.
Like the ones from like, first couple times or whatever I did it, and then my mom comes in, boom, kicks out, open the door, all this. She's like, you got fucking 2 days to get back to Toronto, get all your shit out of the house, or she's throwing it out, all this stuff. She's so pissed off at me too, because like,
she liked the girl.
Well, she loved the girl, right? And then but it also, like, my dad had an affair with my mom, so then it kind of brought up old feelings and all this shit, right? So she
stunk the whole house out. The old man must have been pissed.
He was pissed off at me. It was the first time in my life my mom has never talked to me. My mom didn't talk to me for a week, and the only way I could communicate communicate to my family was through my brother, because if my dad talked to me, then my mom would get pissed off at my dad.
Yeah.
So it was like, I knew it was super serious, and I'm like, fuck. So then I had to cancel a tour date. I had to fly back to Toronto, load up all this shit into a U-Haul, and then put it into a storage locker, and then go to Seattle.
Yeah.
And then do the competition. And then so I'm like in this competition mode, doing all this shit, and then I bombed the first night, and I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, man, I told this to myself, where I'm like, I have nothing to go back to. Now, if I come back with nothing, then I am nothing.
Yeah.
And so I just fucking put the hammer to the metal, and then I ended up sweeping the competition after that night, came first, won it, came back to Toronto, had some buzz, had some heat. I realized, okay, well, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a life here. And then I was like, I need to get my shit together. So then I got off the booze.
Or at least get some shit.
Yeah. So
like you have nothing, right?
Yeah, but then I had the Seattle, so then the Wave, so then I had a couple things that did touring, and then I stayed in San Trovadolini's basement as like a wayward like place to like get my shit together. And then so I got sober, ended up doing a taping for JFL, won the Seattle, had some heat, did a nice tour, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in Canada anymore.
Yeah.
That was the thing, right? And then I'm looking, because I'm like going to move out to a one bedroom in Toronto, and I'm paying $2,200, $2,300. And I'm like, well, how much does it cost to live in New York or the States? And then I did the conversion. It's the same thing. I'm like, well, why would I go broke in Canada?
Yeah.
I've already done this. After the successful year and a half, 2 years of doing all these things, getting, soft word promises of getting new faces, getting all these fucking things, and then nothing comes of it. I
fell for that for 2 years.
Yeah, so what they did, all this shit, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're not going to pick me after this run and being the second Canadian to win it in 42 years, and then all this other shit, and then do a taping, all this stuff, and then now you're going to pick a guy who's done it for 3 years in a row, who maybe has a hot 7, and he's something else. I'm like,
because he wears eyeshadow.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to stay in Canada. I'm like, fuck it, man, I'm going to the States. So then I packed up all my stuff last year in July and drove back to Edmonton, and then
reset.
Yeah, and then I worked the rigs. I worked up in Fort McMurray for 6 months, and then moved.
You worked the rigs after the welding gig, didn't you?
Well, yeah, because I blew up my thumb, so I shattered my thumb in 6 spots on the
With
tip.
a hammer?
No, I was sliding steel plates,
and they bucked together.
I was loading, and then so I was sliding them off, but it was a water pocket under, so I'm like, okay, this is the strength that I need to take these ones off. So I do about 4 or 5 in a row, and then I hit the water, slides off with super ease, and it almost crushed my hand, but I got my hand out but not my thumb, and then right against 2 steel wall, and then I blew that up, and then that
gives you a nice Fred Flintstone spread.
So but that happened, and I was like, man, fuck working, I don't need to work here, man, I'm not a welder, I'm a comic. And then that's when I quit the job, went on the tour, started doing stand-up, but that was before, like, I was still in a relationship. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm going to audition for Seattle. And then so I quit that job, and then did all the tour. The life blew up.
This is 2020?
That's 2020, and then or 2020, 2021, that kind of season.
So you show up here in 2021?
No, in United States of America?
No, Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Was that a year ago?
No, this was a year ago, yeah, because I did 10 days LA, 10 days Austin, and 10 days New York to decide. So I came here.
And you'd never been to LA before that time?
No, I've been
Oh, that's right, with me. See,
yeah. So I went to LA, and then
I know, it's like we hung out for like a week, man. Don't you remember?
Yeah, I did this podcast at your old place. But no, so I went to LA, and then I didn't like it because I just felt like it was shit, and it was at a time where everybody was leaving LA to go to Austin. And then so I did 10 days at LA, 10 days Austin, and that's where I met like here and did the Vulcan and stuff like that.
That was a good time. You came at a good time.
Yeah.
That was still kind of finding its legs, and it wasn't, the mothership hadn't opened yet.
It was opening a month later.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So then I was there, did the Kill Tony, had all the fun. They were like, hey, well, when you moving to Austin? And I'm like, well, I got to go see New York first. And then I came here in February of last year. Yeah, and then I went to New York, and then I told you I was going to move to New York. And
Yeah,
you're like,
like-
you're not doing what? You're going to have fun. You're not going to go. You're going to be a poor person. How do you like the fucking
Yeah.
city? Blah, blah, blah. And then you hung up on me, and then I was like, holy fuck. I called Boomer. I'm like, hey, Riz, Rouse a little touch and go sometimes. And he's like, why? What happened? And I told him, he's like, yeah, that's Rouse. He's probably caught him on a sensitive day, and he was really looking forward to you moving here. And I was like, oh, okay. And then that's when I called you like a couple days.
On a sensitive
Yeah,
day.
that's what I called you
No,
too.
it was-
A
yeah.
couple days later, I was like, "Hey man, are we good?" And you're like, "No, yeah, we're good. I just was kind of stressed out there and fucking." But then you were like, "You're gonna learn. You're gonna see." You're like, "I still like you, but it just kind of pissed me off."
Yeah, I was like, I was pissed. I was like, because I know that anybody coming from Canada has zero financial luxuries.
Yeah.
And
I had like a nice little egg because I went and worked in the rigs and shit.
nice little egg.
Yeah, and now it's a nice little omelet. Yeah, it's a Kinder
an
egg now.
Eggshell.
Yeah. So it's good, right? But so I'm back here on this trip, and we're gonna see. I got the full 60 months in New York before I do anything.
Yeah.
I got 3 years on my visa, and then we'll play it by ear and all that stuff. But
And again, life over the last 5 years, in the last 5 weeks,
yeah,
is wild.
yeah.
Anything is possible now.
Oh, 100%.
And you might as well be in a place of possibilities.
Yeah.
As much as I was ranting and raving about New York, it was only because that financial luxury of hanging out, like it's a $70,000 hangout.
Yeah. But I also feel though, dude, because like I want to be at a place where I can be like, okay, no, I'm like super battle tested, and that's what I loved about New York. Like here, don't get me wrong, I still have to see some more and stuff, but you're telling me about the middle class and everybody that's 4 or 5 years in running in, and they're coming here, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, obviously I'm doing this 15 years, I'm going to excel here fast.
New York City, London, England.
Yeah, but at the same
Those
time,
are that's the fight club.
yeah, I want to be in there
Yeah,
where
I
it's
get
like,
it. I get it.
you know,
and there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
me. You're eating a slice of pizza at 2 a.m, walking home, and it smells like garbage. You're like, this is wild.
Well, and it's like sometimes, Matt, where it's just like, because before comedy, I was a theater kid, right? So I always
I
had.
thought you were gonna say thief.
No, I always had dreams of like Broadway or the West
Yeah.
End, you know, those kind of things. And then once I started comedy, I was like, actually, fuck that, man. I like Hollywood, and thought I was always a West Coast kind of kid, and loved Hollywood and LA and all
Yeah.
that shit. And then now when I'm living, like walking around New York and stuff, I have that nostalgic feeling of me when I was like 15, 16, being like, holy fuck, man, oh shit, I'm in New York, and I'm looking at all the buildings, hearing all the sounds, and seeing all this, and being like, whoa, just as a little kid, growing up in Edmonton, Alberta. Now you're in the Big Apple.
Yeah, the movies influenced us so as kid. The whole reason for me chasing the California thing was that all the BMX magazines that I was reading in the 80s, I was like, wow, they have palm trees.
Yeah.
That means it doesn't snow there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to be a pro BMX rider.
Oh, yeah. And that's like as a kid too, growing up watching like Jim Carrey movies and all these other stuff, I know obviously into fitness, you're seeing Venice Beach and Muscle Beach and Arnold and all
Pumping
the fucking,
iron,
all the cool stuff, and you're like, oh man, I want to be in LA, and then you're getting into comedy, and then you see the Comedy Store, and then you remember, oh yeah, Letterman's there, Jim Carrey was there, you know,
And Entourage,
Louis Anderson, Entourage,
how well, like that's what was happening now.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
in that moment,
you see all that stuff, and then you're like crazy. But then the way life works out, right? I feel like everything kind of happens for a reason. You go to where you need to go to learn to places and all this shit.
You have to find reason in everything that happens.
Yeah, so it's like now I'm in New York, and I'm like, yeah, it's tough. Don't get me wrong, it's back against the wall. But at the same time, it's like those situations harden you. Those situations make you dig deep. Those are the ones.
On top of all of that, you're a single white guy with no kids.
Yeah, well, I got a girlfriend, but
yeah, okay, you have a girlfriend, but you're not. You don't own a house together, and you don't have diapers.
No. So it's like
so now you have a equity of just vitality and drive of somebody worth $5 million.
Yeah, well, luckily too, it's like my girlfriend is very supportive and like all this shit. And
she has your Facebook account.
She has everything. Yeah, she's got my blood type. I got my location setting on.
Oh, yeah?
No. But no, she's
sometimes.
No, she's super cool, man. She's very supportive. She was like
Where's she from?
She's originally from BC, but she lives out in Alberta. She runs a barn.
Animals?
Yeah, she owns like 4 or 5 horses.
That's great.
Yeah, teaches people how to ride.
Goats?
Flips horses. No, she just owns horses. There's
Nice.
goats on the barn, but she owns the horses.
Those equestrian girls have crazy asses.
Oh yeah, man. Good arms, good legs,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, but
It's taut and tight.
yeah, very
Taut. It's so taut.
Yeah, but she was like, she kind of knew, like, we started dating when I was like, okay, I'm going to New York, and then she's like, yeah, that's cool, but she always stayed with me and like in communication when I was in Melbourne. It was like always like consistent and always supportive and
Can
always.
I say this?
Yeah.
Is she at least 5 years older than your last serious relationship?
Yeah. Wait,
why.
what do you mean? Oh no, she's like.
The same age as that?
No, she's like my
What was the age difference to the girl that you were engaged in?
She was older. She was like my brother's age. She was like 4 years older, 3 years older than me. So she wanted to have
You're
kids.
17.
Yeah. No, I'm 33 now. Yeah.
I'm 53.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, dude, you got years on me. But yeah, I don't know. Life is good, and life is good, bro. You're still living. Yeah.
No, it's great.
But, yeah. So she understood the mission and thing, and she's like, well, if you're not gonna go to New York, then like we're breaking up. But I'm like, why? And she's like, well, I need you to do these things, and I need you to be you. And if you're not you,
Don't be coming around here depressed with a half-hard cock.
Yeah.
That's what happens. She knows what it takes to make meat happy.
Yeah.
Riding horses.
Yeah. So she was like, yeah, fucking go.
Let's bring her in.
Yeah.
She's crying over in the corner.
Yeah. She's just sitting there. Why would you tell him that story?
You know, my father was kicked to death by a horse.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
No, so it's been good, man. It's been a supportive journey. It's been nice. It's good to finally be in America as a Canadian trying to get here.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to do my paperwork before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, and it's been like a long process, dude, since 2014, really, getting here.
Same.
Yeah. So now that I'm here, and it's like, it's wicked. New York's good, people, and like I was telling you earlier, and you were telling me, it's like when the Canadians come, man, we come because we're battle tested. We don't take this shit for granted. It takes us so much to get here, and when we're here, we're like, we're not fucking squandering it. So, are you gonna take that time?
We look great. We sound great, and you know what? One thing that is overlooked because we're so caught up in our own heads, neither of us have any overlap in style, in material, in any of it.
Yeah. Well, it's because if you are mimicking other shit, then it's like, it's such a small community that they're like, what do you mean, man? You're ripping that off. That guy's that joke, this, all this. So it's like, we're all individual, different talents.
And most people that claim other people's shit, they're they're gone.
Yeah, they get sorted out real quick. Yeah, but it's nice though, like walking around New York and then going into these shows and doing these things, and like sometimes I feel like I've not come along, or I'm doing nothing, from being able to headline and tour and do any show that you want in Canada, and then you come here, and then I tell my friends what I'm doing in the.
You're number 42.
Yeah, well, luckily I didn't have to do any of that shit because Ryan helped me out, JJ and Che and all that, and then they kind of put me into the system, and then so now I'm playing like not.
What about Berg?
Berg hooked me up with a little bit of spots at Frantic and stuff.
Yeah, he's out of the city now, so
yeah, he's out in Jersey, and then like he'll help. He tosses me a couple bones here and there and stuff, but
as you've noticed, most Canadians have a soft spot for other Canadians.
Oh yeah, and especially if they're there, it's what I have noticed though is there's ones that will help you, and then there's ones that look at you and go, "Fuck, you're here too now." Yeah, and
that happened. I can't name names.
Yeah,
but a guy that come here and they said the guy's face turned white when he saw him.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But it's not your spot.
Yeah, no. But they got out of there, and then they're here, and then they see you, and they go, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
you're here too."
Yeah,
I'm not the only one.
I get that every place I go in my life.
Yeah, well, you're coming in there with a ski mask, clown shoes, and a hard cock, so.
Thanks for throwing the hard cock in there. Usually when I put the mask on, everything goes sour.
Yeah. Well,
I can breathe through the crotch of the underwear.
Yeah, no, but so it's an interesting thing, but I love it though when you're walking in and doing these shows, and then even the producers or whatever, other comics, they're like, "Oh, here comes the Canadians, man! Oh fuck, here they are!" Here. Yeah, and then I was outside.
No one's even got a name anymore.
Yeah,
it's the Canadians.
And I was smoking with one, and the guy was like, "Man, like,
look, you know what we are?
What?
Hanson Brothers.
Yeah.
Tinfoil.
We're imports, man.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
We're just fucking.
Oh, tinfoil on the knuckles.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Hanson brothers, like the do up, doop, doop, doop up, wearing tinfoil hats. I was like, what the fuck
I
kind of
thought I
reference
did a
is
hockey
that?
thing for you.
I know,
No, the Hanson brothers.
Yeah, from Slapshot.
From Slapshot.
Yeah.
You know about these hockey movies, right? You're a fan?
Yeah. No, I got it. Sorry, just my brain went somewhere else.
I know. Again, that 10-year gap.
Yeah.
I assume that you've seen that movie 2 weeks ago. It came out in 1984.
Yeah, I wasn't even. My brother wasn't even a twinkle in my parents' eye. No, but it's like, well, you said it too, and I gravitated towards it in a sense too. I don't know if it's because we both come from blue collar towns, where it's like.
Oh, you think Hamilton's blue collar?
Oh yeah, man,
it's black and blue collar.
Yeah, black because they haven't showered and they're fucking laying in the street.
No, it's the assault and battery city.
Yeah. No, but it's the show up, do your shit, punch in, punch out, fucking bring your work boots and your lunchbox and put in the shift, put in the hours, fucking catch your check and get the fuck out of there and do what you got to do to successfully complete the day.
It's no different than any apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Except that you are your own teacher.
Yeah, and you can be an apprentice forever and you don't make as much as a journeyman until you're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I think it's perfect. There's times throughout my days where I'm like, fuck, man, should I went to Austin? Should I done this? But then I see these lineups and I see these shows that I'm at, and it's fucking killer after killer after killer, fucking
Yeah, you went around with the wolves.
Yeah, there's non-stop, like there's no fat, there's no silence, and if it is, it's because the joke didn't work or this guy's shit. But it's like everything's boom, boom, and like that New York vibe, and that's what I wanted because I was coming up in Toronto and I wanted that.
You need a pace that challenges you.
Well, yeah, and it's like I need that thing where I see that guy and go, oh fuck, shit, like
I'm on next.
Yeah, the sense
They're
of
still
nerves.
applauding.
Yeah, and
fuck,
yeah.
I had a laugh, an applause break like that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now I'm following it. Now I know how that guy feels.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we're getting at, folks, is we're gonna die alone.
We're gonna die alone, but we're gonna die happy.
2 comics with a double, dead, holding hands on a futon.
Yeah, exactly. And Timbit on our fucking taints.
But I know you had signed up for the Kill Tony show last time, and are you here for 2 Mondays?
No, I'm here for this Monday, and then I leave on Tuesday.
Okay, so you're gonna sign up this week, and then
hopefully the name gets pulled.
I think you're gonna be here by Valentine's Day. I think honestly, there's gonna be about 5 to 10 Canadians moving here by February 15th.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know. We got a lot.
No, I know. I'm making speculations, pulling rabbits out of my ass.
Yeah,
because the weather's changed in comedy from day to day, especially with the angst and apocalyptic things that are happening in the world right now.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden, an assassination attempts and everything else under it is wild.
Oh, it's that's the thing, man. In America, it feels very, very shaky, very eerie.
Well, on that note, speaking of shaky and eerie, have you seen my foreskin?
Yeah, I was waiting to see it. The last time you only showed me your ball sack.
They call me the calamari kid down at the clinic. Danny Martinello.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Hopefully it was fun for your listeners and they get to hear some insights of Canadian comic immigrant.
Exactly, Canadian refugees. And where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Danny Martinello, or you can listen to my podcast. It's called The Dude Buddy Podcast with Danny Martinello and Jared Campbell on the Dude Buddy Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. But give me a listen, give me a follow, give me a like. Danny Martinello on all social platforms.
And I'm actually going to promote some of my shows.
Yeah,
I am at the Sunset Strip Comedy Club in a matter of hours. And then London Yuck Yucks, September 6th, September 7th, London Yuck Yucks, 13th and 14th. Oh, fuck, this is weird. I'm doing Hamilton Levity on the Friday. And then Saturday I'm doing Hamilton Levity, and then I'm closing out the late show in Toronto the same night.
Okay. What month is that?
And that is September 14th. And I got Jake and Louie opening for me in Hamilton and Oshawa.
Okay.
Oshawa 2021. Then the Laugh House in Stockholm, Sweden, September 27th. And, Uppsala, September 27th. 28th, Stockholm, Laugh House. Then I'm doing a gig in the October 19th, I'm in a small town in Denmark.
Love it.
And then November 26th, I'm in LA performing at the Yamashiro show with Jay Davis. Then 27th, the Cannabis Cafe in Los Angeles or West Hollywood. Then I'm at the Velveeta Room for 3 shows at the end of November. And I'm waiting to add shows to, I think there's going to be something in October in Norway. I think there's going to be a few shows in Norway.
All right.
And then back to here. I might shoot a special at the end of November.
I think you should. I think the world wants it.
I've got 2 coming out. One coming out on October 30th. I'm going to do the launch party in Denmark where I shot it. And then there's something I shot in December, and I think it's the people who produced it, there's some sort of problem with it. So I got paid, and I don't care.
Nice.
But I think I'm over. I think I might shoot a really slick, cool half hour to release for Christmas.
I think you should.
I think I should.
Dirty December.
Maybe I'll just do a little maybe a little autobiography about my experience over the last 20 years doing comedy, and then put it out on my birthday, which is December 31st.
I think you should.
I think I should.
Yeah.
But can I? I have the ability.
Will you? That's the only question.
I leave next
Will
week.
you?
I'm flying. I'm doing a movie.
Oh, okay.
I'm playing a character in a horror film, this vampire movie that's
Oh.
really cool. So that will probably be out, I'm guessing, in time for Halloween.
Nice.
And
I got 2 dates that I want to plug too. I forgot that.
plug those dates.
August 16th to the 18th, I'm at the Laugh Lounge in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And then from the 29th to the 1st, the 22nd to the 25th, I'm headlining Yuck Yucks Toronto downtown.
In August.
Good
time to be in Canada.
It is. Not in Western Canada.
April 1st to April 1st. No, sorry. November 1st to April 1st.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you? That's winter.
Yeah, that's corporate season.
Stay out of Canada.
Yeah.
April 1st to November 1st. No, November 1st to April 1st. Anyway, Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm clearly having an on-air stroke.
I see it. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Spin 'em.
Merchandise and all that good stuff over at jasonrouse.com. I've got a bunch of shit dropping. Gaper shirts will be available. Oh. It's called the Conversation Stopper.
Draper Gapers.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it several times.
Hold on.
Sometimes I just say hello and then you send it to me.
It's my way of getting people's attention and let them know how serious I am about everything.
You are that and Shit Whiskers.
Mrs. Shit Whiskers.
Mrs. Shit Whiskers.
My ex. Do I still have that picture? Oh. My grandson's going through a divorce.
Yeah, you sent me that one. That was disgusting.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Jason Rouse, and this is
Danny Martinello.
Danny Martinello, and you've been watching The Safe Word. Thanks a lot.
We would like to see most of the human race killed off because it is unworthy. It is unworthy of the gift of life.
I don't care what society thinks.